Wait. Did y'all see what Claressa just did on Facebook? Bruh, this woman really out here fantasizing about wedding bells and babies with a man whose divorce papers ain't even dry. A man who ain't even legally single yet. And now, the whispers coming out of New York? They saying the whole thing is about to implode. Family don't want her. Cousins talking. Uncles laughing. And Claressa? Still typing paragraphs, like a woman auditioning for Wife of the Year. Bro really thought entertaining the circus was a smart career move. Look, before we crack open this whole disaster, hit that like button and lock in that subscribe if you like your tea hot and unfiltered. We don't do sugarcoat around here. If you here for the receipts, you already know what to do. So here's the skeleton, plain and simple. Claressa Shields, the two-time Olympic gold medalist, the self-proclaimed GWAT, a woman with 18 professional wins and belts across 4 divisions per ESPN and BoxRec, hopped on Facebook this week and quoted a fan page post teasing wedding bells for her and Shamil Papoose Mackey. Her exact response? So he don't know he going to get me pregnant. But what's this? Y'all got to stop with these lies. She posted it on her verified Facebook page, quoting a clip pulled from her recent Tamron Hall show appearance, where they discussed marriage and starting a family in 2026. And listen, that Tamron Hall episode wasn't some casual drop-in. That was her partner Papoose's first ever joint sit-down interview, according to the official Tamron Hall show episode page. Baby girl really thought that y'all gotta stop with these lies, clapback was the move. But she quote tweeted the wedding post herself. That's not a denial, that's a receipt. Screenshotted, dated, and archived across every hip-hop blog in the country. Now let's crack open why this backfired, because the deeper you go, the messier it gets. And peep something. This isn't just some random Facebook slip. This is a woman who knows how the internet works. She's not new. She's got millions of followers across platforms. She's got a management team. She's got PR reps. She's got a documentary on Netflix. So when a woman with that much media training accidentally, quote, tweets a wedding post about herself and a legally married man, that's not an accident. That's a message. The question is, a message to WHO? To Pap? To Remy? To the family that allegedly doesn't want her? Or to the algorithm that's been showing her boxing career slipping into Zeus Network prelim territory? Because when the ring stops paying, the rings on fingers narrative starts selling. And Claressa is smart enough to know it, but arrogant enough to think nobody would catch it. Alright, let's talk quotes, straight from the horse's mouth. On the Tamron Hall show, in the segment that lit this whole fire, Claressa sat there next to Pap and openly said their tattoos of each other's names basically signaled husband material. A whole soft launch of marriage energy on daytime TV. When I saw that clip, I had to pause. Like, ma'am, the man is still legally married. You out here doing pre-engagement press on a national daytime show in front of the anti-demographic with a straight face. Then over on Hot 107.9 ATL for the Tamron Hall show Instagram reel, Claressa doubled down and said Pap wants a baby. And they're planning to start a family in 2026. And bro said what? Baby, y'all can't even get through a press week without a scandal. And now we planning nurseries? That's the dumbest flex I've ever heard on a morning show. And listen, she didn't say it once. She said it in interview after interview. There's a whole YouTube sit-down where they openly discuss shared dreams of starting a family. This is a coordinated media rollout, y'all. Not a slip. A rollout. Roll it back further. Complex ran a whole piece titled Claressa Shields wants to surprise Papoose with a baby for his 48th birthday. Her exact words, Papoose's 48th birthday, I could surprise him. When I read this, I had to do a double take. A surprise baby? For a man who's still someone else's husband on paper? Is she serious? Because let me remind y'all, surprise pregnancies are what you announce when the paperwork is clean, when the ring is on, when the marriage license is signed, not when the divorce is contested and the wife is still on national radio calling herself Mrs. Mackey. Meanwhile, Pap himself on The Breakfast Club, as covered by the Shade Room, sat in that chair and said calling out Remy on social media was corny. But when pressed on whether the divorce was actually finalized, he was slippery, dodging around it and calling the noise old news. Nah, bruh, You can't say that and expect people to take you seriously. If it's old news, why still married? If it's old news, why is your legal wife still offering to pay your lawyer? If it's old news, why can't you produce a piece of paper? Old news is what people say when they don't want to answer the question. Politicians do it. Cheating husbands do it. And now Pap does it. That's not a coincidence. Then you got Remy Ma speaking her piece via Yahoo Entertainment, literally offering to pay for Pap's divorce lawyer and referring to her own marriage as the elephant in the room. Y'all, the wife is out here fundraising the lawyer bill because he ain't moving fast enough. That's when I said, nah, this is different. When the wife is trying to speed up her own divorce and the husband is stalling, that ain't a man in love with somebody new. That's a man who doesn't actually want to close the door on the old one. Read that twice. Because if he wanted out, he'd have signed by now. And on iHeart/Power 105.1, back on May 22nd, 2025, Papoose posted screenshots claiming he officially filed, saying Remy needed to move on. But then, over on that grape juice, months later, when asked directly about cheating, he said that's never been on my name. Cool story, bro, but you filing screenshots ain't the same as a signed divorce decree. Filing papers is step one of a process that has like 8 more steps. You know what closes a divorce? A judge's signature, not a screenshot on Instagram story. That right there? That's where he lost the plot. And then real quiet, an Instagram community post floating around IG straight up said the quiet part loud. Yes, Papoose and Remy are still married until the judge signs the final divorce decree. Claressa and Papoose are not engaged. Facts. Screenshots don't equal decrees, y'all. And the same IG post confirmed the filing timeline, May 2025, alleging infidelity by Remy Ma. That's the official record, not the vibes. Not the Tamron Hall romance edit. The record. Now that we got the quotes, let's connect the dots, because when you line up the dates, this whole story starts telling on itself. Peep the sequence, because this is where it starts smelling weird. The alleged filing? May 22nd, 2025. That Tamron Hall wedding baby press blitz? Recorded and aired September 15th, 2025 per the official episode page. Rolling right into the December 2025 quote tweet frenzy. That's over half a year, and still no signed decree floating around. Bro really thought nobody would count the months? Divorces in New York can be finalized in as little as 3 to 6 months uncontested. We are well past that window with nothing to show but Instagram screenshots and press tour appearances. That Facebook quote she just posted dropped right after the whispers started leaking out of New York that Pap's family ain't feeling her. That's not a coincidence. That's damage control disguised as flirting. It's the digital equivalent of showing up to your man's family reunion in a wedding dress before anybody proposed. Loud, uninvited, and begging to be validated. The Breakfast Club interview happened while Remy was quietly building her own narrative on wax. And here comes Yahoo Entertainment confirming Remy dropped WIFL, a whole track with subliminals aimed at Pap and Claressa. And Complex broke down the same track as a direct diss to both parties. So while Pap was calling social media corny in one room, Remy was in a booth turning the whole saga into a song. On the same track, she also addressed Pap's alleged claim that he ghost-wrote her music per the same reporting, meaning Remy came for the personal and the professional. Any smart advisor would have told Pap to stay silent. He isn't listening to smart advisors. Because instead of silence, he keeps popping up on daytime TV grinning next to a woman who's fantasy planning babies with him on a national broadcast. Now the industry piece. Pap ain't some random dude. He built the entire Win Records infrastructure with Remy. According to the couple's relationship timeline, reporting by Tuco, they've been together nearly 20 years and separated in late 2024. 20 years. Their careers, their business, their love and hip-hop bag, all intertwined. There's public record of them celebrating 14 years of marriage per an Instagram anniversary post, and their 15th anniversary was covered by Hot New Hip Hop. Walking away from that ain't a phone call. That's an unraveling of an entire co-branded empire. That's why the divorce is dragging. It's not romance. It's logistics, assets, publishing rights, studio ownership, shared business entities, 2 decades of legally intertwined life. And Claressa either doesn't know it or doesn't care. Either way, bad look. Then, the family dynamic. Remember Mother's Day? The rollout gave every clue you needed. Pap posted his mom, then Claressa, then tried to smooth it into one happy narrative. But the body language in those clips? Chilly. His mother didn't look thrilled. She looked tolerant. And there's a difference. So Pap, doing all this after seeing his own family isn't rocking with the situation? That's terrible reading of the room. Bruh. When mama gives you that half smile in a photo carousel, that's the universal black mama code for we'll talk about this later. And apparently they did talk about it later. Because next thing, you know, the family whispers are leaking to blogs. Same energy at the New York birthday. Pap's 48th and Claressa was there. But the coverage from outlets like Vibe and multiple IG recap pages kept framing it as a Claressa and Pap moment. Not a family moment. Not a Brooklyn homecoming. A photo op. When you show up to a man's birthday with a camera crew instead of a card, you're not a girlfriend, you're a co-brand. And that's the difference between somebody trying to build a life with you and somebody trying to build a portfolio with you. And here's the part nobody says out loud. Pap is Brooklyn royalty in the mixtape scene. His people are OG NYC hip-hop. Claressa is a Flint, Michigan boxing champion with 2 Olympic golds per her Wikipedia record and a resume that includes 2012 Olympic gold, 2014 World Championships gold, 2015 Pan American Games gold, and 2016 World Championships gold per fan documentation on Reddit's boxing community. Different tribe, different energy, different everything. That's not a knock, that's just facts. Cultural fit matters in tight-knit families. And Claressa, rolling in there acting like a first lady in a family that hasn't voted her in yet? That's the move of someone who doesn't have real advisors. Because in Brooklyn, in that hip-hop OG culture, you don't get to skip the vetting. You get vetted. You get watched. You get talked about at the barbershop. And by all accounts, she ain't passed the vibe check. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Let's dissect. Zoom in on that Facebook post. Not the whole thing. One specific word. So he don't know he going to get me pregnant. Read that again slowly. He don't know. That single word, no, is the tell. Because you don't say he doesn't know about a man you're actively planning babies with in press interviews. You say he doesn't know about a man you're planning to trap. That's not a relationship strategy. That's an ambush strategy. And Pap really didn't catch that his own girlfriend just publicly floated pregnancy by surprise? That's embarrassing. Because now it's on the internet forever. Screenshotted. Archived. And any family lawyer looking at this in 6 months is gonna have a field day. Now the 4 laughing emojis. 4. Not 1. Not 2. 4. In digital body language, excessive laughing emojis are what psychologists call compensatory effect. The more you laugh, the harder you're trying to look unbothered. Real confident people don't need 4 crying laughing emojis to sell a joke. They need 0. She's overselling. And when you overselling, you tellin' on yourself. Watch how confident people communicate. A period, a comma, done. Watch how insecure people communicate. Emojis, exclamations, tagbacks. That post reads like somebody trying to convince themselves it's a joke while praying it becomes true. Zoom into the Tamron Hall tattoo bit. The wording was that his tattoo of her name signals he's husband material. Not he is my husband. Not we're engaged. Husband material. That's the language of a woman who knows the paperwork ain't there. That's careful lawyer-approved language dressed up as romance. She's not delusional, she's hedging. And if Pap had half a strategic mind, he'd notice she's already positioning herself for a graceful exit narrative. Husband material is what you call somebody when you might need to walk it back on a podcast later. It's the linguistic version of a receipt drawer. Now the Facebook quote tweet mechanic. She didn't drop an original post. She quoted a fan page. That's important. Quote tweeting a fan speculating about your wedding is the oldest thirst trap in the influencer playbook. You get to seed the narrative while pretending to deny it. Every PR person watching knew what that was. That's the problem with Claressa. She doesn't read between her own lines. She's playing chess with her fingers while playing checkers with her judgment. And the internet, my friends, always spots the difference. And check this out, nobody's talking about the Alicia Baumgardner slap incident, but it's connected. Per Yahoo Sports, Claressa got banned from Jake Paul's MVP events after that ringside altercation. Just Women's Sports covered the same ban and reported the language was indefinite per Just Women's Sports. Let me put emphasis on that. Indefinite. Not a week. Not a month. Indefinite. That's a corporate promoter saying we don't know when or if we're letting you back in. What's the pattern? Whenever Claressa feels ignored or upstaged, a woman getting attention, a family that's cold on her, a fight that ain't selling, she lashes out. Physically or online. That Facebook quote tweet? Same behavioral pattern. Different arena. Bro walks in every room like she's about to lose it. That's not confidence. That's insecurity in a champion's uniform. And once corporate promoters start using words like indefinite, the doors start closing fast. Ask any athlete who got labeled difficult. Once the tag sticks, it sticks for life. Then the Zeus Network angle, per boxing scene. Her prelims got shuffled onto Zeus for the Cruz DAZN card. Zeus. The reality TV network. Not DAZN. Not Showtime. Zeus. When your prelims are on a reality TV network and your press conferences are half-empty rooms, you don't book Tamron Hall to talk about a boxing career. You book Tamron Hall to talk about wedding bells because that's the only thing keeping your name trending. That's the demotion nobody wants to acknowledge. A two-time Olympic gold medalist. Reduced to a Zeus prelim? That's not a boxing story anymore. That's a marketing story. And when the marketing tank runs dry, the engagement pivot begins. That's what we're watching in real time. Now, let's see how the media covered this. Here's where the framing gets slippery. The griot framed the whole Tamron Hall situation as sweet couple energy. Wedding bells on the way. Leaning into the romance narrative and treating Pap's still married status as background noise. Cute framing. But framing ain't fact. Framing sells clicks. Framing sells vibes. But framing doesn't get anybody unmarried. The Shade Room took the opposite angle, framing Pap's Breakfast Club interview as evasive, pointing out that it's unclear if Remy and Pap are officially divorced. See the difference? The griot sold romance. Shade Room sold receipts. Same interview, two completely different narratives, and the receipts win every time. Because the receipts are time-stamped. The receipts don't need a music bed. The receipts don't fade after a news cycle. Meanwhile, Complex ran with the she wants to surprise him with a baby framing, positioning Claressa as a woman in love and Pap as a lucky recipient. That framing is dangerous, y'all. It sanitizes what is very obviously an entanglement into a cute couple goals narrative. That's how PR gets you, soft language covering hard facts. Because a surprise baby with a legally married man isn't romance. It's a whole legal situation waiting to happen. Custody, child support, prenup violations, estate implications. Nobody's writing about that because nobody's writing about that. But the lawyers are already sharpening pencils. And Yahoo Entertainment covered Remy's whole elephant in the room moment straight up as legal financial reality. No romance spin. Just, this woman is still legally tied to this man. That's the framing that actually holds up when you strip away the vibes. Because when you take away the tattoos and the daytime TV and the emoji clapbacks, what's left? A legal marriage. That's still standing. Nothing else matters until that changes. Now, the counter-narrative. Some Claressa supporters are saying they were separated before Remy went public. She's just living her life. Why is everybody hating? But those are the same people who cheered Pap and Remy for over a decade as hip-hop's unbreakable couple. Y'all can't pick a lane. And separated ain't single. Separated is a status. Single is a signature. Remember the Facebook quote we've been talking about? That's not a separated girlfriend post. That's a woman fantasizing about legal marriage, while the man's actual legal wife is out here dropping diss tracks. The receipts don't lie, no matter how many outlets try to spin them. And the diss track ain't hypothetical. It's a whole song called WIFL that Yahoo Entertainment and Complex both confirmed was aimed at the couple in question. That's not shade. That's sun. But here's what nobody is saying. Something about this whole thing feels OFF. And I don't mean surface level he cheated, she's messy off. I mean structurally, OFF. Because when you strip away the emojis and the tattoos and the daytime TV appearances, what you're actually watching is a case study in manufactured relevance decay. It's a slow-motion collapse dressed up in soft filters. It's an obituary written in engagement metrics. And most of the internet is too distracted by the tea to see the tea leaves. Here's the truth mainstream won't touch. Claressa is not fighting for love. Claressa is fighting for relevance. And Pap is fighting to stay in the conversation. And the only thing keeping either of them trending is each other. Pull the plug on this entanglement tomorrow, and both careers hit a nice flow. That's the ugly math nobody in the blogs will write down. Because writing that down means admitting the whole love story is a business arrangement dressed up as a fairy tale. And fairy tales sell better than balance sheets. Think about it. Before this situationship, when's the last time Pap trended for rap? Not for being Remy's husband. Not for being Claressa's +1. For bars. For a project. For a verse. Man's been mixtape legend famous, but album invisible for years. Ask yourself when the last Papoose album genuinely dominated a news cycle. Go on. I'll wait. Then Claressa comes along, and suddenly he's on every blog. So Pap doesn't have real advisors telling him this attention is toxic. He's addicted to it. It's methadone for a career that flatlined. And the crazy part? The moment this situationship ends, so does the algorithm's interest in him. That's not opinion. That's Google Trends. That's engagement analytics. That's the cold, quiet math of the internet economy. And that fan page tea we all been reading. The alleged whispers that his uncle said Claressa gonna hurt him physically, and family don't want her? Even if only 20% of that is true, it points to something bigger. Pap's real support system is the Brooklyn OGs, the Win Record Circle, the Remy era friends. Claressa's got Flint, Michigan, and Boxing Camp. That's not a merge. That's two ecosystems that don't overlap. And when the going gets rough, he goes back to Brooklyn. He goes back to what raised him. And she's left holding tattoos of a man who quietly went home. That's the ending nobody sees coming, but everybody should see coming. Now, the psychological warfare part. This is where I stopped buying the narrative. Watch how Remy's playing this. She dropped WIFL. Then she went quiet. She's not tweeting daily. She's not on Instagram live crying. She's dropping music, offering to pay lawyer bills, and going back to her Bloomberg office energy. That's not a woman who lost. That's a woman playing chess while Claressa plays Facebook. Every day, Claressa posts every wedding bell quote tweet, every he's gonna get me pregnant joke. She's making Remy's case for her. Remy doesn't need to say a word. Claressa is Remy's best PR asset right now. That's humiliating when you actually think about it. Remy took 2 shots, made her point, and went back to her real job. Meanwhile, the other side is still posting, still commenting, still tagging, still stirring. Who looks like the adult in this scenario? Not the one still on Facebook. And here's the industry politics piece nobody wants to say out loud. Hip-hop protects its OGs. Pap is an OG. Remy is an OG. Claressa is an outsider, a boxer who wandered into rap industry politics without understanding the rules. When this collapses, and it is going to collapse, the industry will close ranks around Pap and Remy. Everybody from Fat Joe to NORE to every mixtape DJ in Brooklyn. Where does Claressa go? Back to boxing, where her Zeus card wasn't even selling out. Nowhere. Claressa represents the old guard of a completely different industry trying to buy her way into rap culture. And rap culture is done humoring the transaction. Rap culture will accept you when you're bringing value. It rejects you when it feels like a hostile takeover. And that's how her presence is starting to look to the OG circle. The scary part isn't what happened publicly. It's what's happening behind the scenes. Because when a family starts leaking to bloggers about their own son's girlfriend, that's not gossip. That's a coordinated campaign. That's how families in the culture signal get her out of here, without saying it on record. Every leaked quote to a fan page is a warning shot. And Claressa is too busy Facebook quoting to hear the sirens. The family doesn't need to say anything on record. The leaks are the record. And the leaks are getting louder. Real talk, Pap can be sick of this all he wants. But Claressa is the one who has to let go. And Claressa doesn't do letting go. She does war. Same energy she brought to Baumgardner ringside per Just Women's Sports. Same energy she brought to every press conference. She doesn't have a walk-away gear. She has escalate. And that's what makes this dangerous, not for Pap, but for her own image. Because Remy is winning by doing nothing. And Claressa is losing by doing everything. That's the whole story right there. Two women. Two strategies. One is quietly building. The other is loudly unraveling. Guess which one the culture remembers? And here's what really nobody wants to touch, the age gap piece of it all. Pap turning 48 while Claressa is 30. Different generations. Different cultural touchstones. Different social media eras. Pap grew up in the mixtape battle scene. Claressa grew up in the Instagram influencer economy. Those two worldviews don't just clash on paper. They clash on values. What Pap considers keeping it private, Claressa considers keeping it real on Facebook. What Pap sees as handling business quietly, Claressa sees as clapping back publicly. That's not a compatibility issue. That's a philosophical divide. And philosophical divides don't get resolved with tattoos. They get resolved with distance. And that's the truth they won't tell you. Nah, this is about to go left. Real left. Let me walk y'all through what's coming. Scenario 1. The slow bleed. Pap ain't finalizing that divorce anytime soon. He's gonna let this Facebook fantasy season stretch into another 6 months, maybe longer. Every time Claressa posts wedding bell energy, the wife's side of the internet is gonna drag her. Every time she teases a baby, another blog will run the receipts that she still doesn't have a ring or a certified divorce decree in the man's name. When Pap doesn't propose in 2026 like she's teasing on Tamron Hall, because he can't legally propose to anyone yet, Claressa is gonna look desperate screaming into a void she built with her own keyboard. The silence from Pap is gonna hurt her more than any diss track Remy could drop. And Remy already knows this. That's why Remy's not rushing. The clock is her ally. Every day the paperwork sits unsigned is another day Claressa's wife-in-waiting. Narrative rots on the vine. And rotting narratives don't get revived. They get forgotten. Scenario 2. Pap picks a lane, and it ain't the one Claressa expects. Word on the internet is family don't want her. And when Brooklyn OGs put pressure on one of their own, they fold. Pap's gonna quietly de-escalate. Fewer joint posts, more solo studio content. I'm focusing on my music era. He's not gonna announce a breakup. He's gonna ghost breakup. And Claressa is not ready for a soft dump on a public stage. When she realizes he's fading, she's gonna crash out. A live rant, a diss song, maybe another ringside altercation. And when she does, every blog that sold the cute couple narrative is gonna pivot to we saw this coming. She'll be a punchline by summer. And once you become the punchline in hip-hop, that label is tattooed. Ask any woman who's ever been on Love and Hip Hop New York and thought a redemption arc was around the corner. It's not. The joke sticks. The joke stays. Scenario 3. The industry blackball. This is the one that should scare Claressa most. Because the culture is watching. Every time she pulls a Facebook stunt, another rap-adjacent brand gets nervous. She already got banned from Jake Paul's MVP events per Yahoo Sports. And remember, Just Women's Sports said that ban is indefinite. That was the appetizer. Wait till the bigger promoters start ghosting her calls. Wait till the endorsements dry up because the chaotic label is officially stuck. Mark this. 5 years from now, people are going to look back at this Facebook quote tweet as the moment Claressa's cultural relevance peaked and started sliding. She's watching the culture move on without her, and there's nothing she can do about it. Because every move she makes only speeds up the exit. Every post is another brick out of her own house. And she keeps posting. Scenario 4. The one everybody's whispering about, but nobody's typing. What happens if Remy and Pap reconcile? 20 years of history don't disappear because of one bad news cycle. If Remy chose to squash it, even quietly, even privately, Pap's Brooklyn family would exhale. Claressa would be the collateral damage of a reunion story. And Remy's shown zero panic, zero desperation, zero begging. That's the posture of somebody who knows the door hasn't fully closed. And if that door opens even a crack, Claressa is going to find herself outside faster than she can quote tweet a fan page. That's not prediction. That's pattern. Hip-hop couples with 2 decades of history, 2 kids on the way, and a business empire between them? They don't just evaporate. Sometimes they pause. And pauses end. And here's the cinematic kicker. Remy Ma is going to end up being the winner of this entire era. Not because she outboxed anybody. Not because she outrapped anybody. Because she outweighted everybody. That's the play. That's always been the play. Remy is on Bloomberg. Remy is on the Wendy Experience circuit. Remy is guest hosting shows. Meanwhile, Claressa is Facebook fighting with fan pages at midnight. Guess which one looks like a winner in 2027? Guess which one looks like a punchline? Legacy always beats loudness. Patience always beats panic. Every single time. The scary part? Everything looks quiet right now. Pap ain't clapping back. Remy ain't posting. The internet is watching. And when a beef goes quiet, that's always when the biggest move is being planned. Something bigger is building behind the scenes. Watch what happens next. Because in hip-hop, the loudest chapter is never the last chapter. The last chapter is always the quiet one. The one somebody drops on a Friday morning with no promo. The one nobody sees coming. That's the one that ends careers. That's the one that reshapes narratives. And somebody is writing that chapter right now. Question is it Pap? Is it Remy? Or is Claressa about to write it for them by posting one more thing she can't take back? Whatever happens, one thing's clear. Claressa already lost. She just doesn't know the fight is over. The bell rang. The judges scored it. The verdict is in. And she's still throwing punches at a ghost while the real winner walks away with a belt she never even competed for. That's the tragedy nobody's writing about. But you heard it here first. Look, I already know the comment's about to be a movie. So drop your take below. Are y'all Team Remy playing chess in silence, Team Pap milking every last drop, or Team Claressa still typing wedding vows to a legally married man? Tell me. Debate. Come with receipts. And if you ain't hit that subscribe button yet, what we doing? This saga is far from over, and when the next shoe drops, and it will drop, you don't want to be the one catching up. Hit the bell, share this with your group chat, and I'll see y'all when the next crumb falls. Because trust me, it's coming.